What is up, watch friends? Welcome to another episode of Talking Timepieces with Tony. Today is New Year's Day 2023, January 1st. So I want to first and foremost wish every one of you guys a happy new year and hope that if you didn't have such a good year last year, that you have a much better year this year. And so let's hope for a better year. Got to thank one of my viewers, King Reese, for sending me this awesome T-shirt. Plus, sent me another T-shirt and some cookies from Hawaii. Brother, you awesome, man. So I appreciate that. It's just so kind of you guys, or King Reese. It's so kind of you to send me that stuff. Anyway, so today we are going to talk about getting a Patek Philippe at retail, and then the similarities between purchasing it at retail with even Rolex. So let's get into the intro, and we'll get into this. You're watching Timepieces with Tony, talking timepieces with Tony. You're watching Talking Timepieces with Tony. Yeah. Okay, so I ended up watching a video with the. It was actually a very good video. I recommend it. Just came out, and it's basically on Patek Philippe, and they interviewed the president of Patek Philippe, and I got some insight for you for those of you who are trying to get a Patek Philippe at retail at one of their boutiques. Very similar to Rolex in a sense. I mean, the reason why there aren't any watches, it's due to supply and demand. It's just plain simple. That's what it comes down to. Patek Philippe, like Rolex, are not willing to compromise the quality in order to produce more quantity. So that's essentially in that case. So, but the interesting thing is, for instance, the watches at the boutiques that they have, if you go into a boutique and you see the watches there, where it be a 5711 Calatrava or whatever it may be, split chronograph, world timer, whatever. Those watches are actually already pre-sold or reserved for clients that have already either paid for them or they're on reserve for that client. Once those watches get to the boutique, then the boutique holds on to them for a month for display purposes. And then once they get another one in, another pre-sold one or otherwise, then they release that watch that's in the boutique to the person who purchased the watch. That's a pretty good idea, I think, so they're not just like display purpose watches only. As far as the waiting list with Patek, it's very similar again to Rolex. It's the retailer that has their list. Like I've stated this before many times, and there's been all these arguments. There's no waiting list. Yes, there is a waiting list. No, there isn't. Yes, there is. It's like the bottom line is, I've bought plenty of watches and plenty of Rolex. I know what the list is that I'm on, and it's my rep who has his own little notepad that he puts down who wants what, and once he gets those watches, they get allocated. Very similar in a sense to Patek Philippe. So that's kind of how that works. Even if you are a VIP customer of Patek Philippe, depending on which watch, if it's a high-end watch, even the 5811, for instance, even the VIP clients have to wait their turn for the watch as well. Granted, they're probably more apt to get theirs, a little bit sooner than your average Joe. But again, similar to Rolex, Patek obviously are hot horology, higher horology, but it's really they're kind of following the same path, right? And besides, if Patek want to hire more watchmakers and say, well, we want to create more watches, the Patek Philippe, that you could be a watchmaker, but it doesn't necessarily mean if you're a trained watchmaker that you can just go to work for Patek Philippe. You have an additional, as a good watchmaker, additional 10 to 15 years of training to become basically a Patek Philippe watchmaker. So there's so much to it, so much more to it than just, hey, make more watches, hire more people. So another thing that it is basically is Patek has basically selling to the right person, instead of a flipper. How do they know it's the right person, right? So basically someone comes in, Put it this way: if you're a first-time visitor of Patek Philippe boutique, say you're a tourist that comes in and you go to Beverly Hills and you go to the boutique and you want to get on any type of list and whatever it may be, they're not going to sell to you and they're not going to put you on their list. Their attitude is that basically wherever you're from, there's most likely a retailer out there, and you got to go get it from your retailer in whatever city or country you're from. That's just the thing. They also will not sell to you or put you on any list for any like a Nautilus or any high sought after watch. Now, Patek, their attitude again is um, if you are a one time watch buyer and all you want is a Nautilus, then you are not the right client for Patek Philippe. Um, they want people that are going to be part of the family. And they also have to get new business as well. They have to get new customers. If they don't have any new customers, how are they going to sustain over time their business, right? So essentially, they don't recommend you just going in there one time. Just periodically go in, check in. I've said this before with Rolex. You just it's not hounding them or beating them down. It's just go in periodically. Just make yourself visible and known what watches you're looking for, whatever watch you want. That's like saying I'm trying to get a Daytona and that's the only watch I want from Rolex. Then you're never going to get it. Or even in a Submariner for the most part. I watched that video on Theo and Harris, one of my viewers, and I'm sorry if I just don't remember your name, uh, asked me to watch a video and what were my thoughts. One of the dudes, I don't know their names, the Theo and Harris guys. In fact, neither one of them is named Theo and Harris, right? But it's like the younger one who wears the Zenith. Apparently, he went into an AD, and they told him it will be impossible to get a Daytona, and even a Submariner. They kind of said, "Hey, we're not going to put you on the list." Again, I don't know his scenario, what their whole deal is. All I'm saying is I watched the video, and what are my thoughts on that? It's going to be a whole lot easier to get a Submariner than it will be to get a Daytona, right? It's as simple as that. So also, what Patek is doing is they are, um, again, this is another thing with if you've been into a Patek Philippe and if you've been treated a little poorly or unfairly or whatever, you know, they're scared to sell you a watch if they don't know you or put you on any type of a list, because what's happening is that Patek Philippe in Geneva are buying back watches that are on the secondary market. So for instance, you do get that 50, well, it's a 5811 now. The 5711's been discontinued, right? So just say you do get that 5811. All of a sudden it appears on Chrono 24. Patek Philippe may buy that watch back. And once they buy that watch back, they'll know based off the serial numbers who they sold that watch to. Who's the retailer that sold that watch? Then in turn, Patek Philippe will contact the retailer and say, who did you sell this watch to, and why did you sell to that person? And if Patek Philippe have any suspicion whatsoever that the boutique or the retailer was in on any part of this, they will lose their Patek Philippe distributorship. So are they willing to lose Patek Philippe over this type of thing? Because it's happens. Obviously you can get these watches. They're fairly readily available. Not all models, but So, and the same with Rolex. I don't know if Rolex are buying back watches and doing the same thing, but they definitely could, and find out why are you selling to this person. So let's see. Yeah, so essentially they need to select the right people, but how do you do that? You know what I mean? You just have to really vet them. You just, again, it's making yourself known, making your appearance, and you have to obviously be able to convince them one way or another that you're not any type of a flipper, and that's not what you're in this for. Again, your first watch from Patek, would be like the Calatrava, the even the Aquanaut, which is great because I love the Aquanaut. That's actually one of my favorite models. And they have another one. I wrote it down. I thought I wrote it down, but I didn't. But oh, the Ellipse. Sorry, that's the Ellipse is the oval one, oblong sort of shaped watch. I actually like that watch in the larger version, not the little tiny one. I actually looked at one of those yesterday, believe it or not. Or I saw one yesterday. I didn't look at it like I was going to buy it. It was too small. And you know, again, with all of this, they are basically, they have to screen you, and they have to sort of vet you, and they have to do all this stuff. That's why it's also getting more difficult with Rolex. Although even though the watches may be becoming more readily available, they're kind of narrowing down with who they're selling to. However, buying a Patek and flipping it is a whole lot different now than buying a Rolex and flipping it, because of the way that the market's changed, and of course what's happened in this recent year. You know, it's the flipper is going the way of whatever, I think, in a sense, with watches like, you know, with OPs, Datejust, things like that. There's not that much money to make for them. Patek, on the other hand, if you do get a hold of a 5711 or 5811, those watches are still really high dollar, and the markups, they're still going 2-3 times the price, market price. So having said that, the video I just watched, I thought it was really good, and unfortunately I didn't write down who it was, but you can just search for it. I highly recommend it, especially if you're a Patek Philippe fan like me. I mean, Patek Philippe are just freaking amazing watches. So having said that, again, Happy New Year to everyone. Please like and subscribe my channel. It does you know, mean a lot to me. It you know, gives me the motivation to keep doing these videos. And so having said that, that's all I got to say about that. I'm not drinking a beer. It's too early. You guys have a good one. We'll see you on the next video.